My name is Joshua Rabi. I have been in the Russian Federation for a while. This year is going to be 15 years. I came in 2007 as a student, and today I am a lecturer. I lecture in the university, in two universities actually, one in Moscow, one at the region of Moscow as well. I'm a lecturer of journalism and public relations. That's under the Department of Mass Communication in the People's Friendship University and in the State University of Varekova-Zueva. As well, I'm the senior pastor of Christ Apostolic Church in the Russian Federation, with branches in different parts of Russia, and I have other side businesses also that I do work with. I'm a consultant for some companies as well here. I've had the opportunity to work as or to serve as a student union leader in the capacity of the Nigerian Students President, the African Students President. I've been the coordinator for Nigerian students in the Russian Federation, and I've had the opportunity to be awarded several awards. Had the opportunity to be invited by the President Putin himself, and so far so good. It's been a wonderful time here in the Russian Federation.
So what motivated your choice of studying in Russia? Why did you choose Russia out of every country you could go to?
Okay, well, it's divine, I should say.
Okay.
It wasn't my choice basically, but then the way God will have it. So after this particular service in church in Nigeria on Sunday, I had just graduated from Lagos State Polytechnic. I did civil engineering.
Wow.
Yes, so my father is a civil engineer, of course, he's a pastor. He had his own company, so I was supposed to be running this company right after him. So it was definitely his choice and the family choice that I went for civil engineering. So I finished civil engineering OND, and my parents contemplated continuing studying in a Nigerian university. So our choice then was Igbinedion University, because my colleagues, my classmates from school were in this particular university. I finished from Command Secondary School Ibadan and Oluwatosin Comprehensive High School somewhere in Agbado area. And so this very day after service, we decided to visit my aunt, and she asked a simple question: why is this young man at home? Everybody in the school is in school right now. And so my parents said, well, we were trying to work Igbinedion University for him. He's already visited, he's done their test. They asked him to come and resume pre-degree, like you know, presenting your OND. I go 200 levels straight directly, and so we're just trying to sort out school fees and all that, and we'll send him back. And so my aunt said, no, how are you sending him to Igbinedion? Let him go to Russia. And I, Russia? To do what? Who goes there? And they're like, oh, she said, all my children are there. One of them just finished, two of them just finished medicine. And then the UK now, the last one is there, he's doing mechanical engineering. Let him go and conclude and finish civil there. And my parents said, no, this is expensive. Said, no, it's not. God will do it. After all, you guys are pastors, you are people of faith. Let him go. And she said, tomorrow, go to the passport office, get your passport, and come and see me. We'll sort out the remaining. And it was like a dream, but then that dream is 15 years down today.
Okay, so tell us in details about how the journey has been so far. Like, okay, your experience in the pains, the agony, the gains, and the positive and negative side of your experiences. Great.
I have a book called Impossibility is Possible, and I believe that book will be out soon. That book explains a lot about my life, especially the first part of my life in the Russian Federation. So when we came in the year 2007, this land was almost impossible to live in, almost impossible to survive. Those ones who came ahead of us, they only prayed that things will work out. It was impossible for foreigners to work. It was impossible for you to do any other thing aside studying. In fact, when you came to Russia, those days you only came here to study. So everyone was already counting the calendar. To God be the glory, there are no strikes, no problems with education. So the day you get in, you already know the day you graduate. Per adventure, you face your education, you study well, and you finish. So when I came, this was the story, the narratives. But then I remembered that I was not supposed to be like every other person. I've gone through several things in life. In fact, I've gone through rejection, such that had helped me actually to remember that I can bring something out of me. Okay. So I remembered very well that if you have a gift, if you have a talent, these things can make way for you. And some stories that my mom told me inspired me also, and this actually prompted me to start to look for what I can do to make my environment benefit from me. Okay, so it looks like there's nothing growing here, it looks like nothing is working here, but actually you can add color somehow to your environment with the things you can do. So those days I remembered what I could do was sing. I was not the going out type. I don't like clubbing, of course. It's not. I grew up in the church. We didn't have churches like we used to have back home everywhere. No Bible studies, no prayer meetings that you can attend, no night vigils. So all we did was go to school, came back home, did assignments, and sat home. So it was really boring. And then I remember that I could sing. We used to sing in the choir. I used to sing in the school. And so I started to sing for the university. And that was where my life journey actually began. I was representing my university called across the Russian Federation. And from there, it started with my Russian started to get better because I sang in Russian. And so, yes. And so I could help people also when they had problems. I have a heart to assist. So if you have a problem, I will go the extra mile to make sure that it's solved before I get back, or until I do it, I'm not fulfilled. And so this had been my life, and this helped me to climb the ladder gradually. Since we didn't have jobs to do, what you could do in the university or around the environment was just to use your gifts, use your talents. In the university, I climbed from being vice president of Nigerian students to general secretary of African students, vice president of African students, president of Nigerian students, president of African students the same year. And I got the tag of the golden voice of my faculty and then of the whole university. And I had the opportunity to travel around the whole of the Russian Federation. So I know the Russian people very well, at least to some extent. I know the way they think, I know their mentality. And this eventually, while I was graduating, led me to getting the job directly. I never applied for any job in my life with a CV. I don't even know how CVs look like. Actually, that's the truth. Because while I was graduating, a Russian company already came to pick me from the university before I graduated. Like 6 months before I graduated, I already had a job as a general manager of an oil servicing company in Nigeria. Yes. So the journey was really tough, but then eventually it pays off with you building yourself. Most of the things we did then, it felt like as though we're doing it without pay, but actually we're building ourselves, we're investing in ourselves. So that's the way the Russian Federation is. It's a place that helps you, that builds you. It doesn't give you money now for what you do, but it builds you for the future, for things that you wonder, how did I get here?
Foreigners and people from Africa believe that learning Russian is very difficult. What's your opinion about this?
Actually, Russian language is like every other subject. Take for example, as Nigerian, I am Yoruba. We learned Yoruba in school. How many Nigerians can speak Yoruba successfully? I mean, not the Yoruba we pick on the streets. I mean, the real Yoruba we were taught in school. Even take the usual languages like Igbo, take Hausa for example, as Nigerians. Out of 10 people, you can find maybe 2 that actually follow the theory and the principles of these languages. Most people just speak whatever they see on the street. And why? Because practice. So every language is about practice. You could be taught the language theoretically and have a PhD in it, but if you do not have practice of the language, then you'll be deceiving yourself. Most people came to Russian Federation. The language is difficult, there's no doubt about this, because number one, the words are not the same one we're used to. It's not the Latin, not the Latin alphabets. So this is something new entirely. And the sounds are different from English. Although we may have some words that are similar, but then most of the words are different. The culture of the language itself is totally different from the English culture. So it means you have to be reprogrammed in a different way, number one, to learn when you come to the Russian environment. And two, to use it. Constructing the words is almost like, I don't know what to compare it with. And it's one of the toughest languages in the world. So it means in this case, for you to successfully learn Russian language, you must look for a way to put it into practice. Just the same way we learned actually theory of Yoruba in class, but until we spoke it outside, we never got better in it. There are people who may get B1 and B2, but then actually speak a simple sentence to them in that same language that they've written very well in class. You discover that it's the same thing with the Russian language. So when I came, what helped me in my own case, like I said, was that I got enrolled into a music class. And I had to sing Russian. My teacher spoke no English. The first day I got into the music class, she said, "Welcome" in Russian. And I didn't understand what she was saying. "Sit down, please." And then, and it went ahead, and I said, "I understand you don't speak English, you don't speak Russian, but then don't worry, I'll teach you. You'll learn. You talk to me always." And that's where it started from. I learned the text. My roommates were Russian speaking. That's also one of the major problems. The people who you stay with. So every habit needs just 21 days to learn it. Yeah. So in the space of 21 days, if you do the same thing over and over, it becomes a part of you. If you live with English speakers and you want to learn Russian, you are deceiving yourself. It can't work because you need a consistent lifestyle of practicing what you're learning. So Russian language is a possibility. Today, all the glory to God, of course, and the grace of experiences that He's given to me. I speak Russian even sometimes better than the Russians themselves.
Wow. Wow.
Yes. I lecture in Russian. Everything I can do whatsoever in Russian, I can preach in Russian. Yeah. So it's about the practice and understanding the real ethics of the language, the culture of the language. Every language has its own culture. Has the way it is spoken when you preach, the way it's spoken when you're on the street, the way it is spoken when so being vast in it. Even Russian is worse at this. The language that is used on the street is different from the language that is used in the class. The language that is used in at the dining is totally different from the language you use when you're taking a walk. So learning the culture of the language, the culture of the people, practicing it, coming to this land and allowing Russia to pass through you, not just passing through it.
You being a student, then eventually lecturing in Russia. Could you please tell us about your journey?
Yes, actually, like I said, firstly, I had an OND in civil engineering, so I got here to continue with civil engineering. When we came here to learn first 1 year the language, while we're learning the language, I discovered that I had problems with my core subjects. I didn't have problems with the Russian language. But okay, so when we learn the language, we don't learn only Russian. We learn some other subjects with it. So I started having problems learning, passing maths. Only maths. I passed physics, passed chemistry, but then I couldn't really understand why I was failing maths, and this led to me asking, why? What's the problem? I failed it the first time with my teacher. It took me to the head of the department. I failed it there. And if I didn't pass it, I was not going to be permitted to get into the main year to do civil engineering. So I was very fortunate to have a deputy dean who said to me, "No problems. You can go to the civil engineering course. If you pass year 1, I will pass you in the language school also, because of course we're preparing you for the main year." So when I entered into the main year, the day we're supposed to have the maths test that was supposed to qualify me to pass the previous one, I read everything I could read. I studied, calculated when I got to the class. They gave me the questions. I remember that I worked these questions before I left my room, and I could not remember anything. I couldn't write anything. It felt like as if something was wrong with me. Maybe it was diabolic, or they were calling my name from home. My village people were following me, but because it wasn't just normal. But then right there, I remembered that I'd been praying about this also, and I had this feeling as though God was saying to me, the engineering department was not where I wanted to go to. But I didn't know, I don't know how to explain this. My father is a civil engineer. He's sending me abroad so that I can finish civil engineering and come back home and run the business. So how come suddenly I'm feeling like civil engineering is not where God wants me to go to? But that day was the day I needed to take my decision. So I said, I would not continue with civil engineering until God speaks to me and tells me where I'm going to. And so I dropped the pen. Very funny day. After the class, I called my mother. Here in Russia, actually, if you don't pass exams, you can come back to retake them. It's permitted 3 times. But I was not ready because this was supposed to determine already my score in the preparatory faculty. So I called my mom. I said, well, I have this feeling that God is telling me that I should not be in this civil engineering department. But then I don't know how to say it to you guys, and I don't know how to say it to feel as though I'm lazy. But I have tried it from the preparatory faculty. I have 5s in all other subjects. Only in maths I'm failing. So it's some sign that I don't know how to explain. She said, if God is asking you not to stay there, then go to wherever God is asking you to stay. And so I got some other signs, and I got a direction and a leading. And so I went to study public relations. The public relations department, actually, when you say public relations in Nigeria, they can't understand how this, what's public relations. People that we call PRO people, you know, you know, some guys who, you know, they just maybe they should write letter, or you know, that's all. Actually, that's not what it meant. But we never know. Public relations is about image making. It's branding. Until you get out of Nigeria before you understand that public relations is one of the most well-paid jobs in the world. It's about making brands. Every movie you see that is being done by Hollywood, it has a public relations specialist behind it. They are the ones who fetch the money for every movie. They know how much they contact the companies. Almost every car that you see that has his logo shown in any American movie, that company is paying so much for that movie to be shown. That is the work of the public relations specialist. They're the ones who tell the worth of a movie, the worth of an actor, the worth of an advert. That's our job. We make brands, we make image. We bring the relationship between people too, between government parastatals and people. And so I finished the master's in public relations, and from there a company, like I said, came to the university to ask for a Nigerian. There was a need for a company to start up in Nigeria, a Nigerian who spoke Russian, who has leadership qualities, yes, who has very good English as well. And the university recommended me, and from there I went home. I worked for 2 years in that company, and I decided to come back to Russia to do my PhD. That was in the year 2013. I worked from 2013 to 2015, and then from 2015 I returned back. I did my PhD from 2015 to 2018, and from 2019 I started to work as a lecturer in the university.
Wow, that's an interesting and a long journey.
Yes, really long.
When we started this conversation, you said you once met Putin. I was surprised, like, so I've been sitting with someone that's met Mr. Putin. That's interesting. So can you tell us about how you were able to achieve that?
Okay, so in the course of my journey as a student, I have had the opportunity, especially as a singer, to take part in several competitions and several festivals. I have several certificates and to that effect, and awards. From the year 2011, the RUDN University got the opportunity to visit the President's Palace on the 4th of November. The 4th of November is the day of national unity in Russia. And on this day, the president, whatever president who is on the seat of presidency in Russia, gives award to most outstanding foreigners in the world. For those who have propagated Russian language, those who have been partners to the Russian Federation in their various countries. And so basically that day is always, there's a particular time, like 3 hours, is slated for foreigners. The president meets with special foreigners and very highly placed Russian people. On the 4th of November, my birthday is on the 3rd of November. So this day is always a birthday gift for me. On the 4th of November 2011, the president, Medvedev, was president. So there was a time that President Putin wasn't president for 4 years. There was another president. His prime minister then became president. Okay. And he invited us as a university. And we went in a team of 5 people. Then it was not in Kremlin. It was to Nizhny Novgorod, I believe. There is also a place for the presidency in that city. We flew on the presidential plane. Wow. Yes, to that city, and was really beautiful. But the coming year, there was a special request. I don't know how, but I was the only one requested for.
Wow.
I have an invitation, a golden invitation from the president, and a vehicle, because I was the only one, a vehicle from the presidency came down to my down to my university. I can't, each time I remember that day, it feels like, wow. Like, no, that must be in the movies. Like, yeah, a vehicle drove down, parked right beside my hostel, and the driver was waiting to pick me, and he drove me down to the Kremlin itself. And this was an opportunity to sit on one of the seats not too far from the president.
Wow.
And when time came, I sang a song in Russian right before the president.
And you've been working for quite some number of years now. What is the work environment like to an African? Is it like, is there something like discrimination because, okay, you are not white and you're working with us, then you can't get to a certain height? Is there anything like that there?
Well, you know, the Russian environment before this time was the Soviet.
Okay.
In the days of the Soviet Union, the Russians were closed people. The Soviet Union was a closed environment, it was communist. And rarely should a foreigner, who is not part of the Soviets, get anywhere until he becomes Soviet. What does it mean to become Soviet? You have to respect every Soviet law, you have to learn the Russian language to a very particular level that you'll be accepted absolutely. And then, you know, the Soviet in this, they were communists, so there was no religion. So it was indeed so close. As the Soviet Union broke, Russia became a democratic government, a capitalist system of government. And gradually, things changed. Russia became Russia only in the year 1991. So Russia basically is just 31 years old. Not even in any way close to the whole Europeans or the West. Them several phases to absorb people. And the reason is not even because they are racist, it's because they have lived a closed life all their lives. Closed in the sense that they have security, they have this, they have that, they don't allow everyone in, you have to be careful. So this was just their policy. Until when it became a democratic government, they, like I said, gradually opened up. They gave foreigners restricted jobs to do. There are some courses right now in the Russian Federation till today that foreigners can't take. Yes, and it's not a secret, especially when it comes to chemicals, nuclear. There's even some part of aviation that foreigners are not permitted to do, and some part of security. So it's a gradual process, but immediately you become a Russian by passport, you are already opened to much more opportunities. Now, in our own case, right now, in the academic environment, there are no restrictions. As a lecturer, as a professor, you are not restricted. Why? Because you deal with students. Students are supposed to be intellectual people, and you're giving knowledge. As long as you know your onions, as long as you're a good lecturer, you will have basically no problems with students. Because especially if you're teaching in an environment where you finished from, you already understand its system. The people you are working with are your teachers. So the academic environment is like this. And now, not only the academic environment, today foreigners work everywhere. In the last few years, we had a foreigner from the French-speaking nation become the governor of the state.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. 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 In the Russian Federation. And most probably he was the only black person in the whole of that state. And he became the governor. Okay, so things have changed rapidly. Not drastically. And the change continues gradually. Today I have friends and colleagues who are doing well in this country, who are in official positions. And all they just have to do is get the residence permit, permanent residence permit, and many of them are climbing on to become Russian citizens. Yes. So with time, your color will not be a barrier anymore in this environment.
Wow, that's good to know. So, any form of racism so far?
There had been. Right now, if you're in Moscow, you may not even know that you're black anymore. Gradually, it fades away. When we first came, you can't sit beside a white person. Yeah. And you hear chants everywhere. Russia is for Russians. Russia is for Russians. Russia is for Russians. There were guys called skinheads. It was a terrible racist organization, and they beat people, injured them. In fact, they killed some people, and nothing happens to them. The police could be walking around, and racists and narcissists will be beating you up, and there's nothing they will do about it. But in this generation, things have totally changed, totally and absolutely changed. So it gets better by the day. It doesn't go worse.
Could you please tell us about your worst and your best experience as a black man in Russia?
The worst I had of experiences, I think, was in 2007 or 2008, early 2008, when I traveled alone in the metro, very early in the morning, and there was a football match. In Russia those days, you don't travel when there are football matches.
Why?
Because the fans are many in the metro. They fill the whole metro, and many of the fans were racist in nature.
Yeah, okay.
And that day I was going to church very early in the morning, and it was very far. I didn't know there was a match. I went alone because it was in the morning. Well, then you were not supposed to travel in the evening alone. You're always supposed to travel with someone else to go together with. So I traveled alone, but it was in the morning, very early in the morning. And those guys came around me, and they were shouting. I didn't even make a move. I just sat down watching, and they didn't do anything to me, but it was really scary. It scared me off my life. Like, I could practically see my spirit walking in front of me. Yeah, because I knew these guys are gonna beat the hell out of me, but God be praised, they didn't touch me. So in this country, I've never been attacked. Yeah, so that's the highest form of attack I have received. But believe me, there are guys. The guy who was my vice president from Gabon while I was president of African students was stabbed severally. It took God for him to survive it. Yeah, this could be said to have been my worst moments. And my best moments, actually I've had several best moments. So it's very hard to tell that this. Yes, Putin was, of course, one of the best things that have happened in my life, because although I saw him twice, because when the President Medvedev invited us, he was also there. And so this time around, it was just a honor to see him send an invite to me officially. The invites, I always show it to my students. They're written, my name is written in gold, saying the President Putin is inviting you, with the coat of arms of the Russian Federation. Wow. It's, really beautiful. And the honor to have been picked by the presidential driver down to the presidential palace, they are one of the best things that have happened to me. And believe me, there are some parts of Russia that I have visited and have been welcomed almost like a king. And you will love just being around. You will wonder, really, is there anything bad in this place? I love these people.
Sir, what advice would you have for African students who came here to study and they have plans to, maybe they don't want to stay, they want to return back to their country? Would you advise them to stay back and pursue their career here, or should just relocate?
As a spiritual person, firstly, I would say you need to ask from God. Firstly, that would definitely be my answer, because for the fact that you're here, my belief is that God has a reason for it. For example, I met my wife at the airport in Lagos while we're flying down. She was going to Ukraine and I was coming to Russia. Yeah. And so she was just, every other sister who was flying together with me, hello, hi, hello, hi. Okay, this is my cousin's number. When you get to Ukraine and you get a phone, please call. I was still saying in church today that if I never came to Russia, I would never have met my wife. I would never have had the opportunity to lecture. I would never have had the opportunity to be a pastor, for example, here in the Russian Federation. I'll have sat there somewhere in Lagos, somewhere close to my village, So you need to ask God. When we first came, there was no true answer to your question. Everybody went back home. Everybody went back home. So when anyone will ask you this, you say, well, are you kidding me? Of course, I'm going home. So everybody was counting days, counting months, and counting weeks. Yeah, believe me. But then, eventually we have people who God told them that they should stay back, and they did. We have people who have been here for 25, 30 years, 40 years, and they make a career here, they make a life here, their children are here, especially those ones who are married to Russians. Of course, it's already their second home. So the first answer is everyone must ask God. The second one is, while you're building your life, your career, you would already see pointers. I personally do believe that you are an ambassador of your nation. What do ambassadors do? They are both here and they are there. So when any student is here, it should open his or her eyes to see places and areas where he can function while he is here in the Russian Federation, and things that he can do while he's there and do while he's here at the same time. I love traveling, and believe me, since I came to this country, I can count how many times I bought my own ticket to fly home. And I fly home almost every year. Sometimes I fly twice, sometimes I fly three times. And people pay for these tickets. Yes, because they need me to escort them to the house, to Nigeria, to do this or to do that. And so I fly royally without having to pay a dime or a penny. And I'm still needed till today. When you think Africa, you think Joshua first. And when you think Nigeria, of course, that is me. That's my second name. So that you're here, there's a reason. And there are so much resources in this land that are yet to be tapped. So just coming here to study, and I'm going back home, like I say, when you get back home, you discover that all you brought back was just a paper, a diploma. Yeah. What did you do throughout your year in the Russian Federation? Nothing. How many friends did you make? No. For example, you are in this place, you're in an international university where there are people all over the world. You have just given yourself a lifetime opportunity to have friends all over, and you can link, you can be a connector to. I was still connecting someone recently to a different part of Africa. In the space of 1-2 hours, I already got like 2 people needed in another part of Africa. So these are the great opportunities that we have here. So when you're here, allow the environment to pass through you, because eventually you will go home, you will stay at home forever. But what have you gained in the course of your stay here? Gain experience, gain friendship, and most importantly, gain knowledge. And let your certificate go back home with you.
How do you start your family? How is family life in Russia? Raising a family in Russia generally?
Okay, there is a misconception about families from the Russian people. So Africans and other foreigners may naturally tilt to the misconception of the Russians. The Russians believe that it is difficult to raise families in Russia. They believe that things are very expensive. They believe that taking care of a child is impossible. They believe that you have to work, so you don't have the time to take care of a child. If you don't work, you can't survive. For those of us who are from Africa, you know how far, right? Our parents, in most cases, our mothers never went to work. Our father is the only one who does all the job. And he comes back taking care of the whole family. And you can see a family of 5 kids. I know, the modernization says that this is not right, that people should give birth according to their pockets. But we have seen people who gave birth more than their pockets and they survived, right? Many of us are products of this. And believe me, it has just been God that has helped us. This is not totally right according to modernization. Like I say again, it's right to plan and, follow all of these things. I and my wife, like I said, we met at the airport in Ukraine. The same year I was graduating was the same year she was finishing in medical school. So that was the same year I also got a job and I was being flown to Nigeria. The company also flew her down to Nigeria. She's a medical doctor. And so that same year she got home. We got home together. I was working. She went to do the medical exams. She did her house job. While I was working, she was also busy. We gave birth to our first son. We gave birth to our second child, a daughter. And then that same year when we gave back to our daughter was the same year I decided to come back to Russia for my PhD.
You gave birth to them in Nigeria?
We gave birth to 2 of our children in Nigeria, and then I decided to come back for my PhD. And immediately I came back for my PhD, I sent for them, also for the 2 of them. And today we have 4 kids, and they are all here. 2 of them were born here in Russia, and 2 of them were born back home. How do you raise kids? How did our parents raise us? God always supplied to all our needs. Today, like I said, I'm lecturing in 2 universities at the same time. So actually, when there is no need, then there is no provision. That's the way life is.
Okay, just to come in there, you gave birth to 2 of them in
2 of them were born here in Russia.
Do they give automatic citizenship to them?
No. Russians don't give automatic citizenship to children. Children can only, at their ages, they can refuse their father's citizenship and so they will be people without citizenship. That's also a status in Russia, and this may guarantee them like to get a particular stay here. If they have a place like a registration, a house where they are registered, then the government can give them, say, okay, for now, just until you're 18, until the child is 18, the child does not have the right to claim the Russian citizenship. So if the child is 18, was born here, then at 18 years old can go to the Ministry of Internal Affairs and say, I renounce my father's citizenship and I want to pick the Russian citizenship. Yeah, but aside that, they only get the birth certificate, which is their most basic document for living, for survival. With the birth certificate, they do everything here.
Okay. So the parent giving birth to, is there any advantage for anyone that has a child?
If your child was born together, if you're married to a Russian, the child is Russian. Okay. And the father also has an advantage to get his documents done based on the mother and the child. But if both parents are Africans, it's a whole lot of things. There are still other informations that we're yet to know, okay, and this, which we're also trying to find out. But believe me, it almost feels like there is none, aside getting the birth certificates from the Russian government.
What are the options of getting PR or eventually getting a passport?
That's the way the Russian government has staged getting a Russian passport. It's very possible for a foreigner. Like you said, firstly, you have an active visa, whether as a student or as a worker, and then after which you can apply for a temporary residence permit. And after you have had a temporary residence permit, in the space of 1 year, you can apply for a permanent residence permit. And then if you have done well with the permanent residence permit, I think in the space of 3 years, you can apply for Russian citizenship. What are the criteria to do this? There is something we call a quota. Mm-hmm. The quota is the government's opportunity for anyone. You can just apply, anyone, and anyone can get it. But it's not. It doesn't always work that way, especially in megapolises like Moscow. Mm-hmm. Yeah, to get a temporary permanent residence, if you permit temporary residence permit, you may have to try like maybe 50 times or so. No, I don't know, that's just exaggeration. But then let's say 10 times before you're given. And many people just get fed up like after the 4th, 5th time already. And so the only ways or the best ways at it is either when you're married or when you own an apartment. You own an investment, yes, yeah. You own an investment, you own an apartment. Then there are other options of Russian language. For those who have passed Russian and have a certificate of Russian language, they also, in fact, they are, I think, can get permanent residence. And for students, for example, I advise everyone who comes newly, make sure you go for we call it red diploma. That's first class. First class. Everyone who gets a first class today automatically gets a permanent residence permit. That's one of those things that the Russian government has done that is really, really great. Aside this, there are just maybe little other bases. Aside marriage, children, buying an apartment or owning a house, owning a business, working here also. If you're working here officially, like in 3 years after official work, there are some kinds of job, of course, also not all kinds. That gives you the right to having a residence permit.
What do you do at your leisure period?
Okay, one, I'm a pastor. So one of my major hobbies is talking. I love to motivate people. I can talk forever and never get tired of doing it. Yeah, especially when I'm motivating young ones. I desire in the nearest future. Just recently, I went on a program and then I was talking to students who are younger, and they're like, "Sir, please hold seminars. Please just talk to us. Share your experiences with us. These experiences, they are more than $1 million. Please." And these are things that I love to do. Host programs, impact lives, encourage people. Aside this, of course, you've heard also from my story that I love to sing. You know, there's this philosophy I have about singing. When you have a good voice and you have a good soul, because singing is not just about voice, it's about the soul. So it's impacting what's in your heart to people. So when you have a good heart, you will actually sing a good song. It's connected. So for singing, I always say that there's just one you singing, and then there are like thousands of people listening to you. So you are affecting the lives of thousands of people at the same time. It's such a blessing. And you know, they all say thank you at the same time. Just one you receive like 2,000 feedbacks at the same. These are things that I really enjoyed in the Russian Federation. I love to sing. I love to meet people, new people, because everyone has the potential to be a great person tomorrow. So you never can tell who the next person you're sitting beside is. That person may look very useless today, but then that may be your ticket to your future. So I love to meet people, because in everyone is an untapped talent, is an untapped connection. You may just have the connection to the president of the Russian Federation, and I do not know. And you may just look like a very simple person. So I really, really cherish meeting people, especially my first meetings with people. I create such impressions that you can never ever forget about me in your life. Yeah, and I also, aside this, I also love to sometimes play football, because I'm Nigerian. almost every Nigerian kid grew up playing football on the streets or in the compound. Yeah, sure. That's just for leisure.
Do you miss Nigeria? And if you do, what do you miss about Nigeria?
Well, I don't miss Nigeria. Why? Because I go to Nigeria every year.
Oh, okay.
I cannot do without going home. Yeah, I can't survive staying outside Nigeria for a whole year without going. Throughout the pandemic, when we're locked in, it felt as though I was something in my birthright was taken away from me. Even when I hear the news and everyone is crying and shouting the place is bad, I just want to go home. See, when I arrive that airport in Lagos especially, I feel like something good just happened to my life. I am too Nigerian. That's why everything that even surrounds me here in Russia is either it is Russian or it is Nigerian, or some part of Africa. So I'm at home here, and then I always long to go home. The atmosphere, the weather, oh, beautiful. The last time I went home with my best friend, who is Russian, and for the first time I came to understand that actually the beach, the bar beach and the like, these things actually don't freak us anymore. That guy was ready to kill anything. He was ready to kill anyone just to stay on that beach. He even asked me, he said, "Hey, Joshua." I said, "Yes." He said, "Are you crazy?" I said, "Why?" He said, "Are you stupid?" I said, "Why?" He said, "Why will you leave this beautiful place and go to the winter in Russia?" He says, "I can stay here forever. I can just stay here forever." Okay? So we have such a blessed environment. We have such a great country, such beautiful people. And until we come here, we will never know it. So each time I go home, it's a consolation for me. I go home to see things and I'm like, Nigerians, you guys are just suffering. You are so blessed, so blessed. And I get new innovations, rather inspirations for Russia. So when I go home, I go to get inspired. And then I get back here, I'm ready to give new information.
So what do you love most about Russia?
What do you love most about home? Home, because home is just home. Home is a combination of several things. Not minding how bad it is. Some cracks in the wall somewhere in your house gives you memories. That's as bad as it may be. I remember there are some places where we're young, we used to draw chalk and to measure our heights. Each time I go home and I see those things, I remember my siblings. I'm just happy. Someone else who may come into our house may see it as, what rubbish is this? Why are people just writing chalk around? But for me, it brings back memories. Russia brings back memories. I've stayed here for this year 15 years. Each time I enter my university, I remember my classmates. I remember my colleagues with which we sang together. I remember, so it's a compendium of memories for me. So we all live by information and majorly by pictures. I am a photographic person in my brain. So when I get to places, the way it feels in movies when they do clack, clack, clack. There are several deja vus that runs through my mind. Several. So because of the people I've met, the relationships we have made, these things makes my mind about places. So when I'm at home too in Nigeria, I just want to come back here. I'm like, guys, I need to go home. I need to go home. People are waiting for me. Things are not going fine without me. So I miss everything about home. Russia is my second home. Nigeria is, of course, my home, my родное, like we say in Russian, my fatherland.
And quickly, sir, what are your future plans?
Well, I am already living in my future. Rather, in the nearest of the future, I'm only going to be building on what so far I've been able to build. I intend to affect more lives positively. I believe that in the nearest future, I will have an organization or a company that can employ several people. I look forward to times when I will be able to host such programs that will be yearly programs that will have people from all over the world attend them, just to hear my experiences, just to bless someone, just to affect some life. You know, there's nothing more that I desire than being a blessing to people. So whatever I am doing right now, I just hope to do them better. I am already in God's plan and purpose for my life. Yeah, I just hope to expand on whatever I am doing to affect more lives. And most importantly, affecting lives for me is making employment, job opportunities. A lot of people are suffering. The youth, this current generation of youth is bastardized. I hope I could be a part of the healing process, a part of the fixing process of people's lives. And that's exactly what that's what my future and my present and my future is. So they are both connected to each other.
Living in Nigeria and in and Russia and now pitching there side by side, what are the advantages and disadvantages?
I, for one, as a person, I hate capitalizing on already prepared soup. I'll say that again. I hate people pitching their tents in already built foundations. I don't like it. I see it as how do I call it? I see it as being opportunistic in nature. Of course, before we left home, everybody wanted to go for greener pasture, but my mindset is being reshaped. I do not see greener pastures in anything. Rather, I see you making the pasture green. I don't want to be a spectator. I want to be on the field of play. Yes, I want to be part of those making things happen. I really feel as though we deprive a lot of other people from being blessed when we are always waiting for someone else to do something for us. So Russia for me is just a training ground. I see Nigeria as a place to impact people. Oh, like I said, each time I arrive, I'm like, oh guys, I wish your eyes could just be open. I wish you could just see what blessings you have. I wish you could just move forward. Yeah. So these are things I love about life. Life for me is not about receive and receive and receive and receive. It's about give and give and give and keep giving.
On a final note, the advice you will give to Black community in Russia, especially students.
That's a very serious question. Let's divide it into two parts. Let's start from the part, and then let's go to the black community at large. To the student community, we are students. We are the beginning. We start a phase of life, and there's a place we're going to. Right now, we're in the phase of acquiring knowledge. I teach kids, I teach university students. In the second university where I lecture, I teach teachers. I teach those who are going to be lecturers. And so what I say to them is, if I don't teach you well today, my own children are currently coming up, and you are going to be the ones teaching them. So if I teach you wrongly, or if you do not take education, then you will teach my children also poorly. So it is a circle. Now, so I say to students first, acquire the knowledge you need, the next generation needs from you. It is not about you. Your life is not yours. That's one of my best slogans now. Your life is not yours. Your life belongs to the generation to come. So whatsoever you learn now, whatsoever you acquire now, is what you will impact into generations to come. So students, gain knowledge with all your might. Get it with all your strength. Even Solomon says, in all you're getting, get wisdom, get understanding. He says, go for it with all your might. Why? Not because of you, not so that you can oppress with it, but so that you can bless the next generation. That is one under students. Under students also, I should say, allow your environment pass through you. Don't just pass through an environment without leaving any legacy, without leaving any mark, without affecting any life. Don't just go like that and when they are checking the history of the school, they can't even find your name anywhere. There was nothing good you did to anyone. You didn't affect the school. Use your gifts, use your talents, bless lives. That's on that aspect for students. And then also for students, learn a job, learn something. Put in for an internship, go for a free course. Get a job eventually somewhere. Be responsible. Stop waiting for your parents to send money always to you. Also be a parent. There are people in Africa, for example, who are in need of your own money, who are in need of the little you can get. Invest in other people, invest in lives. And lastly, invest in the future. The little you are getting right now, put it down somewhere, buy a land. Planned so much in a way that before you graduate, you have already built your first room. I'm not saying your first house, your first room. Buy a small land, build a room on it. It's an achievement to your name. For those of you who are on scholarships and get stipends, it will be so stupid of you for you to finish, forgive my language, but that's just the truth, for you to eventually finish and there is nothing you can account for. And you have gotten so much money from the government and there is nothing you invested back into the environment or into the community. Before you finish, you should be finishing already with business plans and ideas, and you should have enough money to at least start the first step. Most importantly, you remember that the real estate is the best kind of business, like I always say. Not because I'm an engineer, but this will always progress and no one is going to take your land anywhere. It remains yours or your house. And to the Black community, let us love one another. We need unity. We need to stand together for each other. We're outside, we're not home, but we can make home even outside of home. This is the way many communities have done and have survived. United we stand, divided we will always fall. Let us go into segments. The segment of men, the segment of women, the segment of youths, sports, different aspects of lives that will actually make our lives better. Let us think of solutions to people's problems and not hard problems to other people's problems, like the Black man would always be known for. Let's change the narratives. Let's read books. Let's get information. Let's make better our environment. Let's not cause a nuisance around. Let people not talk bad about us. Let us enter into the system. I desire that we have more politicians in the environment. I desire that those of you who are already Russians by citizenship should do some things to help your brothers. Employ your own native brothers. Employ other Russians to be a better person. Let's create a better Black community.